Welcome back to episode 174 of the Disorganized Wizards Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm joined as always by Adam.
Hello, what up?
And Cam.
How's it going?
And we're a group of auto-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournaments, stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
Most definitely. Most certainly. You can even see me just improving at Magic on the stream recently, just playing like some of the worst Magic imaginable, just out here. Just improving.
Taking everything you learned and bringing it out onto ladder and just throwing it all away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Just tilting off the face of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
Just rankled, yeah. Just playing some bad decks, just doing a lot of losing, I understand what I should do. I just can't make it. I can't make it happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is a classic do as I say, not as I do situation over here. As far as me playing Magic goes, I understand the game. I just can't put it into practice because I just get so rankled. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, before we kick the show off, we got to plug the second DWC Isolational is this Sunday, April 5th, noon Eastern time. $235 cash prize pool for top 8. Standard best of 3 on Arena. Registration's on MTG Melee. You can find the link to the event in the show notes and on our social media pages. Sign up now. It's starting to look like it might be a bit of a smaller event, so a lot of good value in there. Definitely get in. We're going to cover the whole event, twitch.tv/Disorganized Wizards Club. It's going to be a good day. Looking forward to it. Don't miss your chance to sign up. Second DWC Isolational, Sunday, April 5th. Get in while you can.
Dang straight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day.
Straight.
It's going to be a good day. Also,
yeah, we're going to cast it from isolation, I believe. So
yeah, that's the plan. And also, if you're...
Can't break the spirit of the tournament and go somewhere else to cast the isolation.
True, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why you should all register for it. Like, what else are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you got nothing else going on. Don't kid yourself.
Also,
whatever show you're watching on Netflix, it'll still be there. But this has a deadline.
Yeah, Tiger King or whatever. Your Tiger show can wait,
Also, if you're finding yourself with some more free time, the Wizards Tower, the greatest sponsor of this podcast, check them out. WizardTower.com has opened their own Discord and are running events during the week as well through there. Also on MTG Melee. Definitely check them out. WizardTower.com if you're looking for more events to play in. And there's actually this past week it was actually pretty eventful. Even though
there was a lot of Magic you could play from home in like real events. It's actually crazy. Like you could just be like playing so much Magic from home in the last while. It's actually insane. Yeah,
the first Magicfest Online weekend event was this past weekend. It was taken down by Sultai Midrange. You'd love to see it. That one leads into the weekly final, which is in a few weeks, I believe. But this was the first go at their, I guess, weekend Grand Prix, all run through MTG Arena. I don't know if you guys have been watching any coverage, but they've been basically doing 24/7 coverage of all the qualifiers awesome. And then the weekend event. It's been kind of crazy. Nice to have, events to watch while everyone's hanging out at home.
Yeah, it is like a lot of Magic, like 24/7 coverage, but I do like the precedent that having all of these like play from home events is setting. It's like a proof of concept. And even after things go back to normal, I hope that like the amount of these like play from home events sticks around. Like it's been interesting seeing how communities adapt to this. Like the electronic music community has been bounding together for a bunch of like streams of basically music festivals. A bunch of artists will have a time slot and stream. And it seems like people have been discussing how they're going to continue these because of how successful they've been. And people have been voicing interest in continuing streams like this, even after like isolation ends. So hopefully Magic also continues these plethora of arena events.
Definitely. And it gives you opportunities to come together with friends too, like streaming these events, hanging out, playing games. Also, there's a big festival this weekend, Cam. I don't know if you heard about that one, but a few of my friends opened up a Discord server and they plan on all watching it together and hanging out all weekend.
Yeah, lots of people are doing so much music is doing that. Like across every genre, people are playing shows from their homes, doing fests like this. It's kind of crazy. Like it's kind of cool, even from like an accessibility standpoint, that people get to do all this cool stuff. And even in the future, if it wasn't just isolation, for people who maybe can't make it, or you want to go with friends but you live in different cities, you can like see the same shows or hang out. It's been pretty cool as far as that's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give myself like the real festival experience though. Like I'm going to put like a water bottle full of vodka in my pants, and then like I'm going to find it and make myself pour it out, and then I'm going to watch the show.
I'm going to try and sneak it in and get caught. Dude, you just got to have me standing there at the doorway of your room and I'll dump out your,
Yeah, got to make it as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
give him a little pat down before he goes and sits at his computer.
Exactly. Oh man, Lord knows I've been putting down a lot of beers at Discord with people though. Holy smokes. I don't know if other people have been. Well, I know everyone in this Discord has been in this call. But Good Lord, I don't know. We can't be the only ones who have just been like pounding beers during this time with people online. It's so
what else you got to do, man?
On a Friday, Saturday, just sitting here, everyone just sitting around, just screen sharing, watching, like a movie or games, and just drinking beers because you can't go anywhere.
And it's starting to look more and more like we're in for the long haul here. So gotta enjoy that time.
I don't know. Like I have no idea, but I know the school's closed at least until July. But I don't know.
You guys seen those April Fool's prank videos where parents like woke their kids up early, told them there's been an announcement that like they get to go back to school and see their friends and like get them all outside, and then they don't go anywhere?
No.
Jeez, that's so cruel.
That is cruel. What the hell?
Just trolling your kid for internet clout. Ugh.
It's like the classic April Fool's thing, trolling your kid for internet clout.
Yeah. That is actually basically what April Fool's is. You just make your kid cry for the internet to laugh at them.
Yeah, and
maybe having kids isn't all that bad. Actually, I don't know.
What? Isolation's getting to you, isn't it, Adam?
You just get to torture them. Basically, I mean, like, good Lord, that's so cruel. Yeah, April Fool's Day is dumb. Nobody has any good. It's just a collect. Yeah, it's dumb.
Did you see the MTG secret layer they announced on April Fool's Day?
No,
Some of the best cards from Magic's history, like Stormcrow, Squire, Mudhole,
nice.
Goblin Snowman.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was actually really funny.
Okay, stuff like that where it's like, yeah, that's fine. That's okay, I guess. Like, there's like some joke there, So like, I can get on board with that. Otherwise, April Fools can kick rocks. How long do you think this lasts for? I bet 4 months.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed in the art of Squire from the secret layer, they put the
meme
in the background, which is hilarious. So
yeah,
good.
like what is the name of that meme? Who knows? Oh, no, like naming memes seems impossible.
Distracted girlfriend meme.
I guess distracted girlfriend meme. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, so good. Anyway,
yeah, it's really good.
Top 8 of this Magic Fest, we had 2 Rakdos sack decks, 2 Bant mid-range deck, 1 Sultai escape deck, 1 Teamer Reclamation, 1 Simic Ramp, and then 1 spicy one, 4 color control.
Yeah, which was just Esper with 4 Bolos, right?
Yeah, 4 Nicol Bolas Dragon God splashed off 2 Steam Vents and 4 Interplanar Beacon.
Cheesy Pete's.
Yeah, this is not one we've seen, but put up a really good result in a pretty difficult event. So, maybe something's here. I haven't actually tried this deck out at all, but
think of the mind games though. Like you cast an Atris and your opponent's looking at 3 cards. One of them's a Bolas. You currently don't have a red source, but they don't know that. They're not in a position to beat a Bolas. So they put it in a pile. You don't take that pile because you don't have a red source, but you do have an Elspeth Conquers Death. And now the Bolas is in your graveyard. Easy.
Wow, this deck sounds nuts.
I bet this deck's really bad on the draw, though. Holy, just looking at it, hey?
Yeah,
it looks rough on the draw because you're just not doing, you're not killing a creature till turn 3.
Mm-hmm. You don't have any. You're not a growth spiral deck, so you're not accelerating into your top end either. It's just, I don't know.
You're just tapping out, casting your stuff.
Like Yeah, against the aggressive decks, you're probably way on the back foot. But I feel like against the green-based mid-range decks that also aren't contributing to the board until turn 4 or 5, like a Thought Erasure on 2, into nothing, into a Planeswalker is like good.
Yeah, no, against these decks that are in the top 8, it's pretty strong.
What version are these?
Narset does so much work. It's hard to really kind of,
That card lines up extremely well in this format, just against crazy, all the green decks.
I wish there was a way we could play one way to get escape value or something from our graveyard, though, in this deck if we're going to play 4 Atris. I just feel like, I know we have Elspeth Conquers Death, but do you know what I mean? I just wish there was a way to...
Yeah, some other resource.
To use some other way to use Atris, because I think Atris is really, really, really powerful and pretty underplayed, actually.
Yeah, there's not a lot of great escape threats. I mean, I guess you want to stay mostly Esper with just the red splash, so you don't want to be playing things like Kroxa, or all the other escape cards are kind of medium.
Yeah, something like Kroxa would just absolutely destroy your mana base.
Yeah, exactly. Like Kroxa would just ranch you. You just can't do it. You never cast that card. It's just actually worthless.
What about like the jumpstart cards? Like, what's that one that draws?
Yeah, like jumpstart cards might be okay. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Well, that guy had quasi-duplicate in his deck?
Yeah, there's a Simic Ramp deck.
Yeah, I just didn't know he was playing quasi-duplicate. That's awesome.
Yeah. This deck has seen a resurgence because it's just preying on all these gross spiral mid-range decks. Just like can't beat Agent of Treachery.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like Gross Spiral puts 1 land in per turn, or like per time you cast it. Earl probably puts 1 land in. If you've got like a bunch of Risen Reefs, you can get a lot of land.
Yeah, interestingly enough, though, this deck doesn't play Thassa, and a lot of the Simic Ramp decks, I think, were sort of on that plan with all the elemental synergies you have, but none of that here. Just 4 Gust, 4 Spiral, 2 Disputes, 2 Quasi-Duplicates, and then all the normal creatures you see normally.
I'm trying to decide. Do you think that... I wonder if Thassa is better. I don't know. Like, I realize it's a format of do nothing a lot of the times, and that can be really awkward, and that's kind of the problem I have with like most Thassa decks. But at the same time, Quasi-Duplicate in your hand can also just be a do nothing in the meantime, and it also can be stopped a little easier by a removal spell, whereas Thassa can also... I guess Dream Trawler is like kind of not as common anymore, but Thassa at least has some utility on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I like the sideboard of the Simic Ramp deck, though. I think it's pretty good. I like the 4 Lovestruck Beast, 3 Brazen Borrower. I think you need to have that kind of stuff against the like aggressive decks, like against opposing Lovestruck Beasts, etc. That'll just run you over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this deck came prepared for red decks, right? 4 Gust in the main deck, which is a fantastic card in that matchup. Because really, like, if you can accelerate a little bit in the early turn and just keep them from getting down an Annex or an Embercleave for a turn, you're going to set yourself up pretty well to just completely wall them out of the game, right? Like Cavalier of Thorns is a really tough card for them to get through. Uro, same deal. Big Hydroid Krasis, they're going to have some problems, which is why, Aether Gust has seen its way into the main deck of all of these green-blue based mid-range decks, because it is the absolute best card in buying you that time you need to establish your late game cards so you don't just die to the Annex and the Embercleave, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes tons of sense. Yeah, of course. That's how you have to build it. Otherwise, you're never going to get anything done in time.
Yeah.
Speaking of Aether Gust, and I guess its siblings in that cycle, when they were spoiled, I don't think you could have convinced me that like Noxious Grasp and Aether Gust would have been main deck staples for like 2 or 3 standard formats.
Yeah, it's not like actually ideal that that's the case, but it is what it is. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah. I mean, same thing with Dispute as well, right?
Oh yeah, Dispute too is just, Dispute's nuts. That card in almost every format has seemed just like insane.
Yeah, it's actually crazy how good that card is.
Yeah, I mean, they just basically printed a 1-mana counterspell. You know what I mean? It's so good.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we've been seeing a lot of cool decks coming out of these weekly qualifiers and this weekly event. another one this weekend. So we'll have a lot more decks to talk about next week, see if the format continues to evolve and we get any more spicy ones like this 4-color control deck coming out of these events. But we can move on here. I also played an event this week, the Mythic Society's Arena Community Cup. Streamed the whole event over at twitch.tv/Disorganized Wizards Club. And I ended up actually taking down the whole thing with Teamer Flash, which was sweet.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Easy W.
Yeah, so everyone who followed along on stream got to watch me lose in round 1 to Red-Black Sacrifice and then not lose a match for the rest of the day as I was on the cusp of elimination.
How many Aether Gusts did you cast all day?
A decent amount, I'd have to say.
That's probably why you won.
Yeah. I beat Mono Red 3 times in the event, twice in the Swiss and once, and then in the finals as well. Did not drop a single game against it, which was a pretty good feeling coming off, playing Sultai Escape this entire format and just losing to Mono Red pretty much every time I got paired against it. So it was nice to be on the other end of that for an event. That was fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Teamer Flash deck. I just got pretty good pairings all day, ran pretty well, and the deck was good. And like I talked about last week on the show, if your opponents stumble at all, you can just run away with games pretty quickly. And there was another sweet deck that came out of the event, the green-red aggro deck that I beat by like a razor's edge in the semifinals, which Adam picked up and streamed a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about the green-red deck actually while I was streaming, even asking if this was the one that you played. If you had played during the tournament. But before I get into talking about that deck, so what made you decide to play Wilderness Wreck for this tournament?
I just wanted to try something different than Sultai. I'd been playing it the entire format. I just wanted to change it up. Thought, I'm going to stream the entire event. Let's just have fun. Play something cool, kind of, I guess not really out of left field because the Flash deck had been starting to pick up in popularity, but just wanted to do something different. And I've had a decent amount of game experience playing Reclamation decks, so it wasn't really completely out of my wheelhouse. Like I was picking it up cold. So
what I found shocking about this, and for longtime listeners, they'll know how shocking this is. You played a deck with no Nissas in it, correct?
Yeah, 0 Nissas who shakes the world in my 75. Which I know I said I wouldn't do, but...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, that's how you know the world's gone to an extremely strange place where you're out here in 2020 just not casting Nissas.
Yeah, didn't need them, though. I did beat up a lot of Nissas, though, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah? Is the matchup pretty good for you versus Nissa with that deck, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the matchup versus the Nissa to Fairy decks isn't that great, but the other Nissa decks is pretty good. They're pretty clunky, and you just kind of go way over the top of them with Reclamation Explosion. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. The event was great. We had lost in round 1, won 6 straight to make top 8, and then did not lose a single game in top 8. 2-0 everyone. It was kind of wild. Ran pretty good. Had a lot of fun.
This was the Arena Cup thing, isn't it? What was the prize for first? Wasn't it pretty good?
350.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not
a bad deal. Yeah, that's a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, the VODs are up on our Twitch page if anyone wants to go watch the run. But
watch you just smash everybody apart from round 1.
Yeah, honestly, the match to watch if you're going to choose any one of them is to watch the semifinals versus the green red aggro deck, because my God, it was so tight. They got me to 1 life both games, and I clawed my way out of it. It was like crazy, but super fun at the same time. But yeah, if anyone wants to see the deck I played, I put it up in our Discord. It's also on our Twitter page at DWC Podcast 1. Definitely happy to answer any questions if people want to reach out, have questions about the deck. For sure, just hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah, or check out the Discord. We always talk about sideboard options and stuff in there as well. So yeah, just shoot us a message.
Speaking of that green-red deck, as we alluded to, it also put Adam to 1 life.
It also put me to what, sorry?
To 1 life.
What do you mean?
Like it drove you to your wit's end.
Oh God, I was on the edge, dude. I was about to jump. Just on repeat. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I hated that deck. Oh my God, man. If you wanted to see just self-flagellation and punishment, you could tune into the DWC stream from a few days ago. Was it like 3 or 4 days ago, Stelly?
Yeah, something like that.
Where I streamed probably 6 to 7 hours of the girl deck, and I was fuming. I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch the VODs, there's actually steam coming out of my ears. I hate that deck. I don't understand how it wins and or barely scratch the surface of GPs. I understand how. I just can't stand playing it. I just put myself through the ringer playing that deck. I don't know. So I can talk about it a bit because people always ask me about Girl or interested because I was playing it for a while. And I think the reason I was playing it is because for a while, I just wasn't winning and I wasn't focusing on standard as much. And so I picked, we jokingly called it drool aggro, because you just drool and turn your, it's not the most brain power deck, I guess, or it feels that way. But man, there's a few thoughts I have about the girl deck for people asking why it doesn't see more play or why people don't see it and why it's bad. And I'll talk about that. First, the only reason you're playing Grawl is Embercleave. All the other cards kind of suck, but Embercleave is just so insane. And putting Embercleave on slightly bigger beaters is an insanely powerful option that the deck has, right? Sometimes it feels not great. I mean, Embercleave's so insane that if you put an Embercleave on a Fervent Champion, it's still 4 damage, like that the Fervent Champion's dealing. It's still nuts. Like that's how good the card is. But when you put it on a Questing Beast, it feels like you're cheating, right?
Oh yeah.
But to high roll the Questing Beast play, you never seem to get it because you're just playing at such a higher point on the curve that a lot of decks can just 1-for-1 interact with you. And so you don't get to really sort of put Embercleave on you don't get to live the dream very often is what I'm getting at. And the deck is a glass cannon in a lot of ways. But Embercleave is the whole reason you play the deck. I think most of the other cards in the deck list are not very good. Like, I don't think Questing Beast is that good. There are times where, like, you get a Planeswalker and get to hit them for 4, and that feels super good. But usually most players, I think that if they're good players, can sort of play around it or work a scenario where they can deal with a 4/4 for 4 with haste, Like, you can beat that card, and if that's the next best card in your deck is a 4-mana 4/4 with haste, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not big on it. I played the version that you played against with main deck ley lines.
Yeah, main deck ley line of combustion, which
is like the most 0 of 10 experience in my entire Magic career, maybe.
Pretty good versus Mayhem Devil decks if you're expecting to see a lot of those, but definitely
or red
not.
Black Sack. It's super good versus red Black Sacrifice. Like super good versus like certain control decks, super good versus mono red sometimes even. It's weird. Like it has, but then sometimes you get paired against like, I don't know, Bant. And you have a double ley line hand and you put 2 ley lines into play and you're on a mull of 5 because you're playing against a deck that's just going to cast Growth Spiral and Arrows and ignore your ley lines. And you just mull to 5 on the play. And so then you play a Grizzly Bear like Gallia and attack for 2. And then you play another 2-mana 2/2 and attack for 4. Or you play a 2-mana 3/3 and then I don't know, that's it, then you die. On the plus side, the deck has synergy with Robber of the Rich and Leyline in that you're always down on cards. So Robber has some synergy there. The Robber is pretty good in some matchups and really, really bad in others. The deck, like I said, has a lot of 0-10 matchups and 0-10 card interactions. Sometimes Gallia is insane in some matchups. Although literally, if you go back and watch the VOD, every time I attacked with 3 creatures and discarded, I would discard the best card in my hand and then draw lands. So I don't know if that card's good.
Yeah, I think I only saw you actually have the dream curve of 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop cleave, you're dead one time in the entire 7-hour stream.
Yeah, it happened once, and man, did it feel good. But that's like to me a huge problem with the deck is that I streamed for like we said, like several hours, and I got that curve once.
Yeah,
like that's not good. Like because in your head, and you see that deck, you're like, oh, sweet. You just go like 2-3-4 cleave or like 1-2-3 cleave, and that deck's nuts, But like the green-red Gruul deck, the mana is so bad.
Yeah, it just doesn't line up like that, like ever.
I couldn't believe that this person was playing a mobilized district in their list. I cut it within like an hour and had like nightmares about how bad it was in the deck. The mana in green red is so bad. Like you're playing Pelt Collector and Fervent Champion in a deck with Guild Gates because you have temples and then also a Fabled Passage, which in most cases is worse than a Guild Gate because you just put it into play tapped on turn 1 and go get a basic. Mm-hmm. In a lot of cases, the mana in that deck is so bad. It's crazy, and you can't really possibly outplay people. You know, you just turn guys sideways and hope we became a meme in chat, right? Believe in the cleave.
Yeah. Well,
the only way we can win this game is to play around drawing Embercleave.
Yeah, no chance we ever win this game. But if we draw an Embercleave, maybe we can. But that's
and I had to play around drawing Embercleave so many times. Never draw it, lose anyway, but.
Yeah,
that deck is that's sort of my primer on how the cards line up with the deck. I was playing the version that didn't play Annex. There's some green-red decks that do play Annex. I'm not sure it's better. I think that if you play Annex, you cut Questing Beast because you have to go up on Forest or on Mountain Story, but then at the same time, it gets really awkward playing Pelt Collector. Like, I'm just not convinced that there's a good way to build green red right now. Having played it a bunch, I tried different sideboard options and I'd played other green red. The thing is, the deck is like pretty satisfying in the sense of if you're going to watch a movie or watch Netflix or have to respond to some emails or do some other things and you just want to have Magic playing in the background, green red's pretty safe. You're not going to completely like derank or rank tank yourself. It can be a pretty safe choice in that regard. A Leyline of Combustion, I don't know if I would continue to play that card going forward. There were some matchups, like I said, that just felt laughably easy, and others it's horrible. But it makes sideboarding actually kind of easy because the matchups where it's bad are easy swaps with other cards in your board.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
that's the other thing, is that at least on that plus side as well, the deck has pretty hands-off sideboarding, it felt like. So like I said, if you're looking for a standard deck and you just sort of want to turn, creature sideways and not think too much about, I roped quite a bit actually thinking about potential lines. I sound way more, or I should say I'm oversimplifying the deck maybe a lot more than I should, but I'm just saying, like, it felt like most of my wins, a lot of my decisions didn't really matter. There's a few. I mean, I made some punts because I was getting so tilted with the deck because I don't think I ever kept 7. That's the other problem with the green-red deck. You're constantly going to mull, and then your ley lines make it worse. Even if you don't play ley lines, though, like that deck just mulls into oblivion all the time. Because the mana is so bad. I don't understand it. You feel like you're going to have this insane curve when you look at the deck list for green-red aggro, but it just never works out that way, right? I mean, Stella even said he watched for several hours. I think Cam did too, and they even joked about how often that deck mulls. You rarely ever keep 7.
Yeah, out of all those hours of watching, I think I can count on one hand how many times you kept 7 cards.
Yeah, so that's my primer with green red for this season.
Don't play it.
Actually, yeah, I don't know.
Stamp of disapproval.
Yeah, I hate to do it because I do like it in some ways, because like when I want to brain off and just play Magic and not think, it's like a pretty fun, safe choice in that sense. But if you want to win,
yeah, depends what your priorities are.
Games of Magic, it's not for you.
Like, it's not the classic issue as you're describing. Like when you say the mana is bad, is that it relies on curving out, starting with a 1-drop, but it plays temples because it's 2 and 3 drops are also like, they're all green red, or they all have like such heavy color requirements. Questing Beast is double green, Embercleave is double red.
Gallia is green red. Your what's it called? What's the Gobbo? Zertog Goblin is green red.
Also green red. So I feel like if you want to fix that, you either have to keep the temples around and cut the 1-drops in favor of something else and just start your curve at 2, or change your deck selection in some way that you like don't have to play temples. So like an example, a friend of ours a while ago had discussed how he had been playing Red-Black Sacrifice but didn't like it because he felt it had bad mana, because he'd been playing a list with Temple of Malice, and Temple of Malice was interfering with his ability to play the number of 1-drops in the deck. And then the list I had played, and I think most lists now have switched to only playing Fabled Passage and Shocklands and Basics, because you can't afford to play Temples in a deck with like that many 1-drops that needs to curve out that way. But the trade-off for that is that the most of the cards in the deck are black. Like there's a couple red cards, but not many. And like the red 1-drop, Claim the Firstborn, you're not casting on turn 1. So if green-red, I feel it has to pick one of those two paths if it's going to fix this issue. Well, I don't feel that's like the only way it can fix this issue.
I agree. I completely agree that if you want to salvage the deck, you need to address those issues. The basic mana issues are the number one beginning problem with the deck, and you need to do something to mitigate the RNG around those problems, because otherwise you can't improve the deck going forward. But yeah, if you want to be positive about it and improve the deck going forward, it might actually be enough that the deck becomes good by just adding some basics in that case, and just not playing the temples and hoping that you can curve out, or going to the lists that I used to play, which were more on the Barkhide Troll, a bit heavier in the mid game and late game, so that you didn't have to worry about temples. So that deck wasn't still not as great, but maybe it's staying low to the ground and having more untapped lands is actually the way to do it.
Yeah, could be. But I wonder, like, which color you choose to focus on if you do that, because, like, it's probably red if you're going to stick with the Leyline plan, and maybe you switch to, like, Fervent Champion, Robber of the Rich, like, have all your small creatures be red, and then you could still maybe play, like, 2 or 3 Questing Beast. You can still play Gruul Spellbreaker.
Yeah, I feel like at that point you might as well just play mono red.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, if I don't know, like if you're not going to play Questing Beast, I don't know. It's like it's really hard to say what the best sort of option is as far as building that deck. That's why I'm a little skeptical that you can even kind of redeem that deck as far as being a higher tier competitive deck, just because of the way the mana lines up, and you just can't beat any Simic deck, and by Simic I'm referring to just any green deck that also is playing blue, which is, as Stelly pointed out, I think in the pre-show, essentially all of them, right? You're not beating any deck that has a Hydroid Crisis in it, you know, like trying to go a little later if the games go late. Like, you just can't win, you know? Except for Cleave. Ember Cleave's like obviously the one saving. Like, this deck is I can't stress enough that it's actually just an Ember Cleave deck. Games you can cleave people, yeah, they're absurd, but Teferi puts a huge wrench in that out of the band decks. I don't know. Yeah, decks, yeah, it's just a super medium deck. I'll start probably giving these reports more consistently as I'm streaming standard decks, and then that way players who are listening can sort of decide on what deck fits their style. I'll try and be as objective as I can about my description of the deck. I'm not saying that I think it's unplayable. It was just making me lose my mind because of how sort of awkward the mana was and how awkward a lot of the draws were. And I hated how much the deck had to mull. But having said that, I won a lot of matches. I think I won more matches than I lost. My win rate was above 50% with the deck, despite mulliganing this much. So the deck can win behind from mulligans, and it can win on 5-card hands, absolutely. But usually, again, that's believing in the cleave, right? So to say objectively, you know, like the deck is dead or something, I'm not trying to say that. I just don't think can reach the sort of tier 1 status that many of the other standard decks right now we might consider to be tier 1. I don't think this deck is capable of doing that, and I don't think it will be throughout its time in standard. But as far as just an aggressive beatdown deck that's really good with Embercleave, if that's what you're looking for, that's a really good deck to pick up and play.
Right on. So while we're still on the topic of big monsters, we had a huge announcement today. Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. We got the set mechanics, and we got new spoilers and the trailer for the new set. Did you guys check it out?
No, I haven't watched the trailer yet.
Yeah, I have not seen the trailer.
It's decent. Not as good as some of the ones we've had in the past, but still pretty good. A lot of cool cards spoiled today, and some interesting new mechanics.
Yeah, you're talking about the Corona Godzilla? The interesting new cards?
No, I wasn't going to talk about that one, but...
I can't believe that happened still.
Yeah.
It's so outrageous, man. For those of you who don't know, there's actually a card name. What's the exact name?
They changed the name.
They changed the name, but its original name was Space Godzilla Death Corona, which is not the greatest name.
Just not the best look.
Yeah, at the moment. But they changed it. But anyway, if people are confused why we're talking about Godzilla or Space Godzillas, it's because Wizards of the Coast partnered with the Japanese company that creates the Godzilla movies. So there's a bunch of alternate art promo versions of various cards in the set that have characters from the Godzilla movies, which is, I guess, a cool thing to do. A lot of sweet looking cards. Looking at them right now, they're doing collector's boosters again for this set. So you have the regular versions of the card, you have the full like extended frame versions of the cards, and then you also have the full art Godzilla versions of the cards as well, which is pretty cool. I like that they're continuing to do this with each new set. Have all these sweet collector's versions of various cards. It's awesome.
I used to play in a grindcore band called Mothra. Yeah, it's amazing. Big fan.
Yeah, we're gonna go over the mechanics of the new set real quickly if anyone missed it. But we have a returning mechanic this time for the set, cycling, which is a fantastic mechanic, awesome and limited, really great.
A crowd favorite.
Yeah. Last time we had cycling was when Amonkhet, right? I'm remembering that correctly.
It was definitely in Amonkhet as a big feature. Has there been nothing with cycling since then?
I'm pretty sure it was
they got to be really careful with cycling so you don't see it constantly.
Yeah, pretty sure the last time we had it was Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation. So it's back this time around. But we also have some new mechanics. Keyword counters, which is interesting. Basically, there's a lot of cards that have the ability, instead of giving a creature, flying till end of turn, or giving a creature trample until end of turn, it puts a trample counter or a flying counter onto a creature, which permanently gives the creature that ability, which is something new that we haven't really encountered before.
I hate this mechanic in paper, though. Oh man, because people just aren't going to use the counters, and then you're going to forget, and then you're just going to get ranched by it, or vice versa. And it's just going to lead, or you're going to ranch someone with it, but it's going to lead to this like really awkward moment. Tell me I'm crazy.
No, you're not crazy. You can't rely on Magic players to actually bring counters to events or anything like that.
Hell no, I don't even bring dice or paper or pen. You know what I mean?
But on the bright side, no one's going to be playing paper Magic for a while, given the state of things. So, and it's not a problem on Arena, so you won't have to worry about it for a little while.
People are going to forget on Arena that something has Death Touch. Don't worry.
I think, I don't know, to like be a bit more optimistic, I feel like it's probably a small number of this effect that's standard playable. So out of like a particular deck that an opponent is playing, they can probably only make one type of counter. So a dice below the creature, not on it, is probably like sufficient if you know what's going on. And then in limited, I imagine that the tokens for these things are going to be in every pack, and they're going to be everywhere. So like if you do a draft, there just will be enough at the table to keep track of things. You don't have to bring them.
Yeah, you could be right. You definitely could be right. But let's move on to one of the more exciting new mechanics from the set. This one's called Mutate, which allows you to combine your creatures to make bigger creatures. So it can be a little bit confusing at first, but basically the creatures have a mutate ability, which is just an alternate casting cost for the creature. So when you cast the creature for its mutate cost, you put it over or under target non-human creature you own, and they mutate into the creature on top, plus all of abilities from the creature underneath it. So that might be a little bit confusing, so I'll try and explain it a little better. Let's say you have a 2/2 grizzly bear in play, and you can mutate a creature from your hand onto it, and you get to choose whether you want your creature to be a 2/2 or the creature is going to have the power and toughness of the creature that you're mutating from your hand. So you put it on top or below, and whatever creature's on top that's the power and toughness you use. And then the creature has all abilities from the top creature and the bottom creature. I imagine in paper this is going to be a little weird with kind of, stacks of creatures and stuff. Obviously a lot better with digital Magic, but
my question is, there's various cards that have already been spoiled that say when this creature mutates and then it has a triggered ability. Do those only trigger if that creature ends up on top of the mutation?
reading this now, it says whenever this creature mutates, triggers abilities. When a mutating creature's spell resolves, all triggered abilities a resulting creature has with that trigger condition will trigger. It doesn't matter if the ability is on the existing creature before it mutated or on the new piece resolving mutating creature. They all trigger and then they can be put on the stack in any order.
Oh, I guess it gets all abilities from the things below, right? So like
Exactly.
Even if that trigger was on a creature below, like the new one would pick it up and would have just mutated. So okay, that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. All that's relevant for the creature on top is power and toughness, and then it gains every ability of all creatures it's mutated with. So it's definitely an interesting mechanic. I've seen people make comparisons to Bestow. This mechanic I feel like is going to be a little bit more playable in constructed formats, and there's definitely a lot of cool mutate cards in the format so far that we've had spoiled. Some really interesting ones. This is just
another instance of WotC like showing clear favoritism. Like we had discussed how all the green decks in Standard are also playing blue. Most of the very powerful cards in Standard over the past little while have been green-blue cards. And with this new mutate mechanic, they just continue to appeal to the expertise of Simic mages who just stick creatures together.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but all right. Have you also noticed that a lot of the cards they spoiled so far are like triple color, multicolor cards? I wonder what we're going to get for mana fixing in this set.
Are all the cycles of dual lands in Standard complete at the moment?
Yeah, well, we have 10 shocklands and 10 temples.
So it'd be something new if they do introduce it, or yeah, that's interesting. Maybe with like a full cycle of, or like 2 full cycles of lands, it's fine. And Fabled Passage.
I wonder. But yeah, there's one more mechanic from the new set called Companion. And companion creatures give you a deck building cost. And what this allows you to do is if you follow the deck building cost with your main deck, you can put a copy of the companion creature in your sideboard, and then you can cast it at any point from your sideboard. I'm not sure how I feel about this one.
I think it's probably going to be fine. It's like a very wacky new type of mechanic for like most constructed formats. It feels kind of like a command zone, and it's very different than any mechanic they've done before. Mm-hmm. So I feel like people are going to be hesitant at first, but I don't think it'll be much of an issue. I think once people play with it, it'll be mostly fairly intuitive. I'm sure they've done like plenty of testing before they introduce something so strange. So I don't know. I think it's interesting.
You're sure they've done plenty of testing, Cam? This coming from like the studio that brought you Oko Thief of Crowns.
Okay, I understand that they missed the power level of Oko in their testing, but what they don't miss is like how confusing cards are or how like intuitive things are. Like I feel like most of their testing is geared to understanding the casual crowd's reception of cards. And so if Companion was too hard to enforce or too confusing, then I don't feel that would have made it past testing. Not a power level issue.
Okay, I guess that's fair. I'll read off a Companion card just so people can get a general idea of what we're talking about. I'm looking at Karuga, the Macro Sage. It's 3 and 2 green-blue hybrid mana, 5 mana total for a 5/4 legendary dinosaur hippo. How many hippos are there in Magic? Is it the first one?
No, there's definitely others.
Dinosaur hippo is definitely a first one, though.
Dinosaur hippo, that's the first combo. They've been coming out with the hot combos lately, like the jellyfish beast and all that,
Yeah. But yeah, so it has Companion. Your starting deck contains only cards with converted mana cost 3 or greater and land cards. If this card is your chosen companion, you may cast it once from outside the game. When Karuga, the Macro Sage, enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other permanent you control with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So all of the companion cards follow this exact templating. They give you a deck building cost for your starting main deck, and then you can cast them from your sideboard once per game. And once you've cast it, it follows all the normal rules as if you had cast it out of your hand. When it dies, it goes to the graveyard, etc.
There are 5 other hippos. 3 of them being Great Maws or Behemoths from Amaket.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, we Hearthstone now, but I think it's probably fine. I don't know how I feel about this mechanic. It's probably fine.
Funny enough, we also saw probably the quickest banning of a Magic card ever in the history of the game, as one of these companion cards called Lutria the Spell Chaser got banned in Commander immediately.
Really?
Upon being spoiled. Yeah, it's already banned in Commander and Brawl. This card, Lutria the Spell Chaser, it's a 3-mana 3/2 for 1 and 2 red-blue hybrid mana for a legendary creature. It's an elemental otter. And they banned it because its companion ability is each non-land card in your starting deck has a different name. And so its companion deck building cost is just the normal deck building cost for EDH and Brawl.
Okay.
So it has flash, and when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you can copy a instant or sorcery spell you control and choose new targets. So it's not banned because of its ability is good. It's banned because it's essentially free in any red or blue Commander or Brawl deck.
Right.
Because,
yeah. Okay.
Because you already automatically meet the deck building cost in those formats, right? So
yeah, that's an interesting deck.
Yeah, it got banned within like 2 hours of being spoiled today.
Jeez.
Which is crazy. I love the article they posted about it, explaining how it's essentially becomes free and becomes a must play in every Commander deck that follows these colors. And I'm like, that's kind of funny to think about, because aren't there already cards in Commander that fit that?
Are you referring to the fact that Sol Ring is not banned in that format?
Yeah, like I feel like
Sol Ring is so much more egregious than this. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I just feel like there's already cards that fit that description, so it's kind of weird that they go after this one. I don't know. Maybe that's just
in defense of that logic. Sol Ring is not literally a free must play because it does take one of your 100 slots. So if you have 100 other cards that you really need to play and that aren't Sol Ring, then like maybe you have to cut it. But the companion cards, I understand this is ridiculous, but it has that small cost. The companion cards don't count towards your 100, so there's no reason not to include it.
Also, Sol Ring though is egalitarian. Every deck can play it,
Yeah, also that.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just a fair and honest card,
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of the companion mechanic, I was discussing how it might work or not work with some people in our Discord earlier. And I don't know, I'm excited for like some of the gameplay decisions it might make. So like, let's say I have 2 different companion creatures in my sideboard and my deck satisfies the deck building restrictions for both of them. There's one where all of your cards have to be even, and then the otter, as you just said, all your cards have to have a different name. So let's say I have a standard deck that's all even CMC and every card has a different name. In this article, it says that each game you announce up to 1 companion, but this now allows me to switch companions for each game, or maybe for game 1, if I have somehow know what my opponent's playing, I can choose a companion that's best sorted for that matchup. It like adds some choices that are interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, like switching companions based on sideboard plans.
I don't know if that's actually a realistic thing that'll ever happen, because it could and most likely will be the case that satisfying multiple deck building restrictions is too costly, but maybe.
This keyword is really interesting in the sense that how obviously it kind of jumps out to you as a more casual mechanic, right? It has a very, Commander feel to it. And having deck building restraints in competitive formats, I don't know how viable that thing is, but the fact that you just always have access to this card, on curve in game 1, just because you meet this deck building cost, I feel like it might be a little more powerful than people originally think, especially, based on, how powerful the companion card is, obviously, and how how restrictive the deck building cost is. I don't know.
Like mulliganing decisions, like that 5-land hand that you probably have to mulligan, now you don't have to anymore because it's...
Yeah, because that card's in your hand, right? You always have it. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen one of all the ones they spoiled today. I haven't seen one yet that jumps out to me as, this is good. This is definitely a card you want to build around.
Yeah, this one is obviously busted or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good thing, probably, that it's not clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see the full spoiler, but hopefully it's not, it doesn't harken back to the last year at all. And we're chilling a bit, we don't have this crazy of results and card printings as we did in the last while, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's hard to rank the companion pieces. This is the fun part of Magic, right? It's so hard to know how cards will line up with other cards, with the format, with entire deck building, right? In that certain colors can just take over the format like they are now. Like, it's impossible to know whether companion will be good or not, but it could be, yeah.
It's also just a mechanic that I feel inherently might come into the spotlight or find its own as more sets are added to standard. Like, maybe you can't support a 3 CMC and up only deck now, but if they print more good 3 CMC spells, then you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we wrap things up, I want to talk about one of the Planeswalkers from the new set. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read this one. It's a new Vivian card, and it brings back one of everybody's favorite abilities on Planeswalkers, which is a static ability.
Ugh.
But I actually really like the look of this card. This card looks sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So this one though isn't I don't think is an obnoxious as a static ability as other ones. I think this one's actually mostly fine as a static ability.
Mm-hmm. And it's more expensive too. So it's not as egregious as something like Teferi and Narset. But this new card is Vivian, Monsters Advocate. Costs 5 mana, 3 green. 3 starting loyalty. It's static abilities. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. It's +1, create a 3/3 beast creature token, put your choice of a vigilance counter, a reach counter, or a trample counter on it. And it's -2 is when you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I like this card a lot. I think it's sweet.
Yeah. This card really dunks on my claim that standard decks are only going to need one type of counter.
It's really good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the +1 is solid. I mean, Nissa makes 3/3s. She does a bunch of other stuff as well, but 3/3s so far in the format have been lining up well. That -2 reads very strong to me. The fact that you can see a creature on top of your deck, and if it's say only 2 mana and you have 3 extra mana, you can, or if it's 3 and you have 2 extra, you're just guaranteed 2 creatures that spell.
Yeah, it's not normally abilities like this, you'll cast a creature and then you'll reveal 5 cards off the top of your deck and choose something like that, right? That's the normal templating I'm kind of used to seeing with this kind of ability. But whenever you cast a creature, you just get to search your library for any creature you want as long as it has lesser converted mana cost, which I think that really pushes this card for me.
Yeah, that -2 is a hyper powered card draw effect, and I think it's going to lead to some very impressive turn 6s, if you can untap with Vivian.
Yeah, and I mean, also it just has the continual 3/3 creature on the plus, every turn if you just want to do that. We've seen 5 mana planeswalkers that plus to make 3/3s have turned out to be pretty good. So,
oh yeah, this card could do some damage out there actually. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that it could be just experimental frenzy for your creatures seems potentially pretty good.
Could be a cool one. I love the alternate art versions of cards they're doing for this set with that kind of comic book feel art style. I think that's really cool.
I think so too. I think it looks really cool. That's one thing I'll say. Over the years, they've just, even if the last year's the standard and everything or whatever have been a complete and utter disaster as far as design. The art style lore has all been awesome, got to give it to them on that regard. The aesthetic kind of structure of sets, the story seems pretty cool. People seem to like it. That I don't as much for reasons that I won't get into here. I don't like the continued sort of comic book narrative, but I like the art style that they have. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of story, why are we going to Ikoria? Is the Gatewatch going there? I have no idea what the intro to this set is.
No, I think we're just hanging out with big monsters. I don't know.
They've moved away from the main Gatewatch story. I think.
Thank God.
Why is Vivian there?
Because she loves monsters, man. She's a monster hunter.
Yeah, she's the monsters advocate. Silly me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if this is a return to form of sets that don't really connect to other sets, just like look at this place that exists in the multiforce, like I'm about it.
Well, like Theros wasn't really connected either, so and neither was Throne of Eldraine. So we have had a few sets in a row that are kind of following that template now. So
yeah, Eldraine was a good example. Theros, I guess, didn't feel like one to me because it was continuing past storylines with Elspeth, and it was somewhere that we were familiar with. So it didn't feel like this exploratory world building set.
You're just still recovering from the damage that was done by War of the Spark.
The whole thing leading up to it, yeah.
Yeah, it's just everything about War of the Spark. You're just still recovering.
We're
all recovering. We're all in recovery. Yeah, War of the Spark was a disaster. Yeah, absolutely.
From a story standpoint or a design standpoint?
All of it.
Yes.
Yeah, just yes.
Okay, well, on that note, let's wrap things up. Thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure, as always, you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. Hop into their Discord if you want to join in any events they're holding in the future. And, of course, be sure to sign up for the second DWC Isolational this Sunday, April 5th, noon Eastern Time. $235 US cash up for grabs. Sign up on mtgmelee.com. Link is in the show notes and on our social media pages. If you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/DWC Podcast. And how you're listening to the show, whether it's Podbean, iTunes, any podcast app, leave a review, rate the podcast, share it with your friends. Everything helps, keeps this thing keep growing and bring it to new listeners. Thank you for listening. We'll see you all on Sunday for the DWC Isolational over at twitch.tv/Disorganized Wizards Club. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Later.
Come cast some spells and we'll cast your games.
Thanks.